I am here tonight with the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Carissa Schrader. We're just going to be here chatting tonight about the singer life, and we mulled this over today. We both agree that there are some extraordinarily heavy things going on in the world right now, and we wondered, is this the right time to come on? And we both agreed it is because there's a lot to be said, not just about what our career moves should be right now, but what do we do to support our community right now, and how do we continue to press forward and also be mindful and of what's happening around us. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but let me introduce Carissa to you first. She's a professional singer based out of here in San Diego with killer chops. This woman can sing.
Thank
Um,
you.
and not only is she a very successful working singer, she's an amazing vocal coach as well. Her mission in vocal coaching is creating happier, healthier, and more intimately connected world through the human voice. And I think that's amazing. She is putting out some incredibly powerful stuff out there for vocalists in the form of some courses and coaching programs. So we will talk a lot about that tonight. But Carissa, tell us what's up, what you've been doing, and what's happening.
Hi. It's so good to be here. I have been busy. I think I'm a little bit of a worker bee. I've always been that way. So, pandemic life actually felt a lot like a springboard for me. It felt like I got all this space that I'd been needing by giving away a lot of my time to part-time jobs and running around town and traffic and Starbucks and the life that we were all really ingrained into.
Yeah.
Um, it was definitely an adjustment for me, and I certainly never want to make light of the people who have had a lot of hardship. I know that that's real and happening. My experience of this past few months has been pretty positive. Other than, I mean, there was a lot of grief and a lot of shock that we all went through. So I
Mm.
went through that as well, but I also felt like so blessed, and that's not, it's like a word I don't even use really, but
Mm-hmm.
blessed to have some blank space because I'm a busy
Yeah.
person, and it makes me realize how busy I had become. I wasn't getting anything done. So
Mm.
in the course of this 2 months, I've been able to really shift around a lot of the ways that I do business, a lot of the ways that I show up for myself, and the way I'm taking care of myself and like treating myself and my body. And I've been able to gain a lot of clarity. So for me, my personal experience of the pandemic, has been, it's been good, which is scary to say right now. We don't
Mm.
feel safe necessarily, especially today, right now, like in this very moment, not just
Yeah.
like right now, like 2020, like I mean, right this moment.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to celebrate wins when there's so many circumstantial things happening in the world that are so heavy, so difficult, so wrong, so
Mm-hmm.
undeniably wrong, and so it does. I think there's a level of guilt for people right now that are having financial success, that are having personal success, that are having freedom, because not all of us get that in this life, and it was set up that way for some people. So
Yeah.
it's a scary place to be able to say I'm doing well. But
Mm-hmm.
like yesterday I wasn't doing well. Yesterday I took the news in, and it broke my heart, and it broke my, I couldn't do anything. But I have come to a place now in my life where I'm starting to really understand where boundaries are so important. I'm like, I think boundaries are the sexiest thing ever right
Mm.
now. So obsessed, because I am somebody that feels the world really deeply. I think many singers are. I think many musicians are, because we are creative beings. We're tapped into that source energy. Often we feel, we're empathic people. We can read the crowd. We can respond, and we get other people's energy, and we produce it with others. We're dependent on others with our bands and our, the symbiosis. We're very tapped in people, in my opinion. and
Mhm.
singers especially, because it's such a bodily instrument. It's like such an expression. So I'm learning that, like, in order to be part of the solution of something that I can't tackle by, like, I couldn't possibly. I think that's what's so heavy about this is we think, how can I help? And you can't, but you can, but it feels so far from, like, you want to be able to fix it. You don't
Mhm.
want to just say, okay, I'm going to make this tiny change that 20 years from now is going to create this giant ripple. It feels overwhelming. It's so big. So for me, I get overwhelmed easily. I take on the weight of the world easily. And I've learned that in order to be in the solution zone, in the place where I can be positive, where I can hold space for others, where I can be creative about what can we do to change this, what can we do to be good neighbors, basically, I can't do that from a state of totally ripped in half depression. And
Mm.
that's what, when I scroll Facebook all day, when I let myself get into too much of that narrative, it consumes me. So I've become really ruthlessly intentional with
Mm.
my time and my consumption and my friend, everything. Like, I have strict boundaries, and they feel great. They feel great. And that's the only way I'm able to sit here right now and have this conversation in a place of calm, collected energy, is that I took the time to grieve some things yesterday. I said, I need space. I was not well, and I allowed that. I just sat and was not okay for the whole day. And
Mm.
that's okay to be not okay. We're in a culture where we want to slap a band-aid on everything. And that's part of the work I feel called to do here, is to help people understand that, like, the processes of grief and of letting go and healing are ongoing, and they happen at the personal level first. So we can't heal systematic oppression without first healing what's here.
Yeah.
That's me.
Oh my
So
gosh. I I appreciate that perspective so much. Um, in fact, yesterday or the day before, I had posted something on Facebook just asking what is the best thing that has come of this so far for you. Not because I'm trying to sugarcoat this or paint this situation as something other than what it is. I mean, it's traumatizing to a lot of people. But I spoke with Rebecca Jade the other day, and she said something that just hit me so hard. She said, wouldn't it be a shame if we came out of this unchanged, or for the not for the better, and it would be a terrible shame if we didn't. So I appreciate that you are taking that perspective on it and taking the time and making the most of it and doing what you can do. And I think from a broader sense of things, with everything going on in the world, in a way, I'm glad that I'm not glad that any of this has happened, but that we're in the particular space that we are, because we're not so distracted by so much that we can easily sweep things under the rug or not pay attention to them. So,
mm.
um,
Yeah,
you know,
this is a reckoning. This is a reckoning. It's a big wake up call. And I think I felt sort of called toward a shift like this before all this happened.
mhm,
And of course, none of us could have predicted this, but I've had this sense for a couple of years, definitely the last year, as I've shifted the kind of work that I do and why. It's been in relation to this feeling that, like, we can't sustain this life that we had been running in. So there's a big paradigm shift underway. And a lot of people are going through an incredibly rude awakening right now. All of us are, but I think some are feeling it more than others. I feel like I've done a lot of work leading up to this that gave me some tools that have helped me stay pretty grounded throughout the course of this. I have also a lot of luck and circumstance, and that's nothing I can control. I can be grateful. And I think one of the things that you mentioned that's interesting is that um, you were, like, hesitant to say, I'm glad this happened, because
oh,
that's like that can be read as insensitive, right? But
mhm,
I really believe we're living in a yes and time.
right. Hmm.
Yes, this can be horrible, and you can be grateful for the light that's been shown on life and on our ways, right? We can, yes, we can be in a state of shock and grief and disappointment about the reality of the world, and have hope for the world, and be grateful for the, like I say, the experience of realizing, of awakening. Like, we're going through a national awakening, and it's causing great rifts, right? So there's people, everyone's clinging very dearly to what they believe is true right now, and if you look around, no one's right. So it's
Right.
I think there's a lot of discomfort happening right now, beyond the physical discomfort of illness, and beyond the social discomfort of what we're witnessing in the news.
Yeah. It's an insanely uncomfortable time. That's, you know, but I think those are the feelings that compel us to change and go in the direction. And when we can't stand it any longer, we
Yeah.
change. We are left without any choice than to do that.
Yeah,
So,
that brought tears to my eyes.
yeah.
That's so true. It's so true. And that is it's a change. And from my standpoint, it starts at home. It starts inside, because
Mhm.
I think a lot of us don't, like you said, there's not an opportunity to sweep things under the rug right now.
Mhm.
And a lot of us want to help the outside world, but we're ignoring all of the battles that we are going through every single day, in our mind, in our heart, in our the longing, the grasping, the addictions that people are in day to day. And I don't just mean like drugs. I mean Facebook. I mean people pleasing. I mean the addictions we have as a culture. So yeah, this is a heavy time. It's totally messed up, and it's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. And I think that's part of this process, is like, Americans don't really feel our feelings. We like to pick ourselves up by the bootstraps. That's one that we use a lot. We dust it off, brush it off, get back up, keep fighting. Like, that's our culture. And that's true grit. We have it. But
Mhm.
it's stopped working at some point. Like, you can only carry that so far. And actually, the way I'm gesturing just reminded me of like singing stuff. It's like you can only take your chest voice so high
Yes.
before you hit this wall and it falls apart. And you have to like learn to like connect these two pieces of you that are invisible and that don't like talking to each other. And they all of a sudden need to come together and integrate and make this new sound. And I feel very much like, as a culture, that's where we're at. We're like trying to shove this chest voice of old ways up into a new space. And it's funny, it's like, if I'm going to go real far in this analogy, it's even in the chakra zone, right? Like, we're kind of moving up into a more spiritually aligned and connected with one another space, where we're
Yeah.
starting to realize that everyone's actions, they affect each other. We're all so intertwined, and we've been ignoring that. We've been pretending that we're other than and
Mm.
against for so long. So
Yeah.
it's like we're trying to take all this root tribal survival energy and shove it up here in this connected space, and it's there's a disconnect, and it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah. We're at the we're at the Great Passaggio.
Singer nerds. I hope you guys are
Yes.
watching.
Speaking of singer nerds, I know that before all of this, you had a lot in the works before this going on. You had launched the Bold Vocalist, and you had courses, on the horizon that you were launching. What do you have going on right now with that, and how has our circumstances changed the way you're approaching that now?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I'm starting to learn about life through the very hard lessons is you need to learn to roll with the punches
Yes.
because um, from the one of my favorite meditation teachers says you have to become the ocean instead of fighting the waves, right? So if you're getting
Mhm.
hit with waves of grief, anxiety, stress, unbelonging, unworthiness, the things that is such a deep and rich part of the human experience, when we're really fighting that, if you stand up in that wake, you just get beaten to death, right? Not just beaten and bashed around, and you're exhausted. It's so hard. But if you became one with the ocean, if you lay on your back and you float, you all of a sudden you drift, right? And you move and you like become this fluid thing. So I think this has been a lesson for me in that like even the thing that I thought I wanted to do when this happened, I was like, okay, I'm going to teach people what I've learned about staying grounded, about
Mhm.
meditation, about different herbs and oils and crystals and like all these tools that I love to play with that like help me stay centered and connect with myself. And I thought that's what I was going to share through the course of this. And as it was going, it was like, no, this isn't feeling right. It's not resonating. And I think you just have to give yourself permission to just change. Like on the drop of a hat, we get super attached to our ideas and they're the right thing and they're perfect. And like we put everything in these little boxes. And so what I've done in this time, one was I really went into my own education a lot. I've been a lifelong learner. I love learning. Um, and when I've noticed as I look back on my life, the moments in time when I'm not really engaged in learning, I become pretty restless and unhappy. So, like handful of years following college, um, felt kind of lost and not sure what to do. I really need structure. I'm learning. I didn't think
Mhm.
of this as a kid. I thought structure, ew, but I'm a super
Mhm.
creative person. So when I get structure, I actually thrive because then it's like all bets are off when there's a framework. So
Yeah.
this I did a few things. I invested in a course called oh, I think it was very, very clear and to the point. It was like 30-day course builder boot camp. So I went through a boot camp that was 4 weeks long and it teaches you how to build an online course.
Mm.
So I've wanted to do this since the beginning of my business, but I started focusing first on getting one-to-one clients in the door and like kind of establishing that I know what I'm talking about and building a presence. So I had been kind of putting this course idea off, and then this course just kind of fell in my lap. It was like 4 weeks, you'll have a course done and you'll have it pre-sold. Like so that's what I did. And in 4 weeks, it actually took me 5 or 5.5 because I lost a little momentum when it came to selling. Same reason, it felt really icky to sell to singers when we're not able to work as singers. I
Mm.
had to do some work around that and get clear on who I'm talking to and why. It's the why is really important because I don't really just want to take your money. I
Right.
really want to change your life. Like I want a deep, some sort of deep transformation on a personal level to happen because that ripples out to my mission. Like I want to fight systematic oppression by empowering individuals at the vocal level.
Yes.
So it's a small seed that hopefully grows into a big thing. But yeah, so I kind of got hung up at the 4 week mark when I should have started selling it because sales are scary. And honestly, if you're a singer, if you're an artist, you're in sales all the time. Every time you post a gig flyer, every time you ask somebody to go listen to your Spotify, you're pitching a sale. So marketing is something that I was never taught as a singer. And I think that's a failure on the part of my education because
Yeah.
I didn't know how to do it. And do
Excellent.
you know, have you ever seen, I tangent all the time, just heads up.
Do it.
Um, you notice when you look through musician scrolls that it's like, I'm so excited to, I'm so excited to play at Kilowatt Brewing. I'm so excited to welcome so-and-so into the studio. I'm so excited to whatever. It's like every pitch, this is what it is. It's a pitch. When you're talking about your career and you want your audience to engage with it, you're pitching them something. And if you look around, every artist right now, the landscape looks a little different, but if we're like going back a little bit, when we're in gig culture, it's like
Mhm.
I'm so excited to, and it's like let's break that, let's get out of that and like
Yeah.
tell me something I'm interested in, tell me why I want to go to that show, what am I going to experience, what
Mhm.
about your art, Danielle, makes me excited and makes me feel something that connects me to you or to myself or to my soul or my past or my future. Like those are the things. So I feel like singers have been missing some of this marketing stuff. Tangent. So I went through 4 week boot camp, had a little meltdown, got over it, sold it out, which was only a small thing. I made a small goal because we don't want like giant, overwhelming things between us and our dreams. You'll never get there and you'll feel like crap. So small goal, 6 people. I opened it at a discounted rate, sold it out. And now we are in week 2 of that. And watching them go through it is like, it's so fun.
Yeah.
They're crushing it, and they each come with their own set of fears and anxieties about the same stuff that we see in everyday life, just being heard, being seen, thinking they're worthy, thinking they're good enough, thinking that they'll stand out for some reason from the crowd, because why would anyone notice me? So it's a live streaming course that I created, but it's really like this awesome, like, get clear on who you are as an artist and get confident to like show up as that artist over and over. So that's called Living Room Rockstar. I'm in week 2. So the first half of pandemic, I learned how to do that, and then the second half, I'm literally creating the course alongside of my clients. So I'll have week 3 content due on Monday.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And what singer belongs in this course for you? How would you describe them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like a lot of the singers I work with are like kind of on a precipice. They're either between like, a lot of them are already at a pro level where they would have been playing gigs or like open mics or coffee shops where they're actually out and performing already a little bit. But one is the technology aspect is like going live, just like we just talked about it when we're sitting here trying to figure out Zoom to Facebook. There's a ton of little functions, and there's words that you don't know, like
Mhm.
1080p. What the heck is that? I still don't really know what that is. So there's all these like stream key and code and OBS, and there's these words, and especially if you're not of a generation that grew up doing stuff in the tech space, like this can be a big hurdle. So I'd say the people who are right for this program are kind of either not sure how to go live, although that it's pretty easy, but like it doesn't necessarily seem easy from the outside if you're like, especially everybody's got bells and whistles happening now. So it's for like the people who need a little support in actually doing it. It also has a private container where you like go live and practice. So you kind of get over that, like, that thing when you're like looking at your phone and you're all like, whoa, oh shit, I'm live. Oh, sorry, I used the F word.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm bad like that. I always cuss. I try not to so hard. All right. So, and then I think a lot of what I'm seeing, the commonality, and really I think who I'm speaking to in my brand overall is just people lacking confidence, because it's not that hard to hit the live button on your phone and stick it between 2 coffee mugs and film yourself. But it's so hard to do
Yeah.
that because it's forever. There's not a live audience, like they're not clapping, you can't like interact, you can't see people's eyes or feel their vibes or see them smile when you're done. There's a lot of factors, and then of course you got to see and hear yourself back. And most people, you've probably experienced this, do not like the sound of their voice when they hear it on a recording. And I am one of those people too that I cringe a little bit when I see myself back on video. So this has been a challenge for me too, to start really just getting comfortable in my own skin and saying like, hey, this is what I look like. If I can't look at me on video, I can't look at me from an outsider's perspective
Mm.
and like what I see. So there needs to be some peace made there in order to really be powerful. You can't be like, oh, I don't like how I sound, I don't like how I look. It's like, well, that's how you sound and that's how you look. So you can either get okay with it, or you can avoid being seen and heard. And I think that's where like 80% of our culture spends their time.
Yeah. You know what I love so much about that course too, and I think this goes hand in hand in a lot of coaching situations, is that you can have really really great singers who are on a really great career path, but a course like this, in a way, it gives them permission to do something that they want to do, even though we shouldn't need permission to do anything creatively that we want to, but it it opens up that fear in us and kind of helps us, over the hump, especially, when you have the guidance of somebody like you and in a group dynamic. Just
Yeah, the support they give each other has been really inspiring. I knew that that would be a part of this, but like watching it actually, the friendships develop and the network kind of develop is really cool. It's fun to see them cheer each other on. And and again, I just went through a boot camp right before I created this to learn how to create this, and I had that same thing. I had people cheering me on in the comments, and I had the coaches I was working with coming in and giving me feedback on my stuff, and being like, hey, just do it, get out there and do it, it's not going to hurt you, you're going to be okay. Like, because we don't know that we're going to be okay, and especially anyone who's had severe trauma in their past, or even maybe mild trauma, we don't always trust that we're going to be okay. And that's, I think, a lot of what stops people is like, it's not just knowing that they could be rejected, because
Mm-hmm.
that's always a possibility. You could get rejected. You could have rejected me when I was like, hey, let's do this call, or vice versa. Like, we can, anytime you ask a thing, you can get rejected. Anytime you do anything, there's a possibility of it like going not great. But um it's like, how do you think that you'll be able to handle the rejection, right? So it's not just like I will get rejected, it's that I can't handle being rejected. It's that it's going to hurt too much. I can't stand that. I couldn't stand the rejection, right? It's the pain that comes from it that we're afraid of, not the physical rejection itself,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I think we need permission to do a lot in our culture, and women especially. We are definitely like, we just started handling our own money like 40 years ago. So there's a lot of like, is this okay? Can I do this?
Uh, yeah. It's so incredibly true, and I feel like I've always found throughout my life in vocal training, just for myself, um, that it's so much more than just the um, technical working on your voice thing. And I think a lot of us that are in this space, teaching and coaching when everything like this hit, and the reality of live gigs being uncertain when any of that's going back into place, especially with people who are, in the theater and spaces like that, we wonder, well, what am I coaching them into if they're not going to be able to go out and perform soon? But the reality is, when you're in this sort of training, it's so much more than the vocalizing and the scales and resonance and all of that stuff. You're it's self-discovery, it's musicianship, it's technology, being innovative, being creative about how you can perform. What is live streaming? Am I allowed to do that? Can I get on and live stream too? And will anybody watch me? And will I die if somebody says something rude to me in the comments? These are the
Mm-hmm.
things that we can learn together in these spaces, and I think it's incredible that you're doing it. I
It's
love it.
been fun. It was scary. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's weird to market something in this political climate and in the economy and all those things. But I think what I always return to, and what's being reinforced for me right now, watching people go through it, is that this is actually a mission-based business and a mission-based product. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm selling, how do I live stream? Can I do that? What is it? But what I'm really doing is like, I'm asking people to go back and look inside. Like, I'm having them look inside so deeply, and they're about to get it. They're going into week 3. They don't know what even's coming. Week 3, we're going through the whole chakra system. We're doing like lots of journaling.
Yeah, I
There's
hope they're
like
not
this.
watching this right now.
I know. No, they know me by now. I'm totally out there and woo. They know, but just I don't know. Sorry, I get very excited and then the words fly. So yeah, I needed to create a space to coach them into, because
Mm-hmm.
there isn't any right now. But what a shame for singers and musicians to stop all their work right now, because we're all going through something. We need the art. We need it. Like, we need your voice so desperately right now and down the road. And like, that's another reason when we considered canceling this talk today. And if I was in the headspace I was yesterday, it would have been a no-brainer. Like, no way, because I'm not going to come on from that space. But today I have this perspective of like, what you and I are doing is more important than ever. It's so important to empower people to feel safe in their voice, because until everyone gets a voice, the people who have them need to be able to use them for
Mm-hmm.
good, and to feel safe and empowered to do that. So um, it's incredibly important for artists to be creating, to be vocal right now. Like, we need to be vocal. And I don't get into politics. I legit avoid them on my page. I don't follow them. I don't post about them. I don't talk about them. um, I don't think the police brutality doesn't fall into politics for me. That's a news issue that's not made up. It's not fake news. It's not divided by people's opinions. That's an actual tragedy, and we need to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
We do need to look at it. And I think that the way I see myself fitting into it is helping people take a stand and use their voice and speak out and speak up. And I definitely, as I move forward, will branch out beyond singers. I think singers have an awesome platform because people listen when you sing, right? If you're just talking, like if you went into a crowded room and you're just like, hey, hi, hey, and then all of a sudden you're like, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, and you like busted out that, just say you just in the middle of a room, just saying the crap out of respect at the top of your lungs, what would happen?
People would pay attention.
Yeah, the whole room would be like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like it's like this thing. So singers, I think we have a particularly powerful voice, and not just because we've learned how to actually use the vocal mechanism in a powerful way, meaning we're combining aerodynamics and acoustic science
Mm-hmm.
to create a powerful sound, but also because people listen when people sing, especially when they sing well. They stop and they listen. So artists can lead the charge here, and they can't if they're too afraid of what people think.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I would be so remiss if I didn't mention Steph Johnson and her
How
choir
fun
right now.
is that?
Talk about using your voice and being a change maker, changing this world, and recognizing that your voice matters, and you can do incredible things, no matter what your circumstances are.
Yeah, wow, right? And I was I'm so happy to see them getting the national spotlight here, because I did you read they made like $22,000 or something in the course of a weekend. They have amplified their social media presence throughout the nation. So there's a real and the homeless issue in San Diego is obviously an issue, and in Southern California, and I think in a lot of places. But
Mhm.
um so having a spotlight on that is something that I think will bring more change than any of the red tape in politics and government bureaucracy has been able to achieve so far. And I think it also shines a light on something that rings so very true to me right now, that we've been approaching rehabilitating, or like we approach everything backwards. We're shoving that chest voice up into the head register instead of finding a cool reinforced head voice, right? It's
Yeah.
like we our systems do everything backwards. This is me getting political for 1 second.
Mhm.
The healing that occurs when you sing comes at a basal cell level. So the vagus nerve runs from the base of your brainstem, all the way down into your gut. So they're called interoceptive capabilities, when your brain and your gut talk fast to each other, and there's this clean connection between them, which is intuition. It's split-second decision making. It's the people on Wall Street who make $1 million deals in the drop of a hat because they said, well, it just felt right, or it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
This is gut feeling, and it's a connection between your vagus nerve is this awesome transportation system through your brain and your gut, and it runs directly through the vocal mechanism. In fact, it is the vocal mechanism. It's not like it runs through it. The vagal nerve makes up some of the tissue of the TA muscle, which is if I'm not getting that backwards, but I'm pretty sure it is. Like the laryngeal muscles are controlled with the vagus nerve.
Mm-hmm.
So when we start to take these deep breaths for singing, and when we start to vibrate the vocal cords, we are actually stimulating and creating vagal nerve tone. So vagal nerve tone gives us a tool that when crisis strikes, hello, we're here.
Yeah.
When crisis strikes, the vagus nerve, if it's got strong nerve tone, is very capable of keeping you calm and cognizant in the face of crisis. So by singing, you are literally reversing all the fight or flight or freeze mechanism. We can't flight right now. We can only fight or freeze, right? So we're like constantly gearing up for this battle. And when we sing, we undo that by the deep breath and by the vibration of the vocal mechanism. So we're increasing our intuition, we're becoming calm, we are coming out of a state of panic, we're lowering our blood pressure, lowering our heart rate, lowering just all the stuff that will kill you eventually,
Yeah. Yeah.
inflammation in the body. It's all quelled when you sing. So imagine, a world like that Steph Johnson's created. One of the really impressive stats before any of the America's Got Talent stuff, I want to say there's like close to 40 people that are now sheltered from passing through that choir. So she gave, I'm guessing, I think it's about 40. I could be wrong on the number, but like a significant amount of people who were homeless are not homeless anymore. And part of that is feeling worthy, belonging, when we feel like we belong to someone, something, a community. It's partly being cared for. Like I know she's giving a hot meal once a week at this practice, and there's like this nurturing of people who have probably felt very disconnected and very uncared for a long time. And she's creating healing in them through the vocal mechanism. And that's really empowering. So now we have 40 beautiful souls, approximately, give or take, who were unsheltered and who are now living, this life that we think we can achieve through jail or halfway houses or homeless shelters or bureaucracy. But really what you do is you just make people feel more and more frustrated and part of the system. And I don't really know all that much about this, but that's my guess, is if I were put through a system like that, that it would be very dehumanizing. And vocalization is the most human capacity that we have.
Yeah. Oh God, I could not agree with you more. I just, my greatest hope is that after them having this spotlight, that it'll just duplicate, as far and wide as it can, and also, spark other ideas, for people to get involved that way.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, that's what's so cool. I love thinking what you're talking about, the ripple effect. I love zooming out. This is like my obsession right now, is thinking about what your choices lead to. And I think we're very boxed. We've been in this like me. And it's a paradox, because really, in order to fix this, we have to go further into me, right? So we start with the ego me, and
Mm-hmm.
then we get to the spirit me. And when we can get to that true self potential, when we can recognize that we innately belong, that we have purpose no matter what, and that our struggles are here to teach us and to to strengthen us, and that's allowed to be crappy, by the way. You don't have to like that's how it works. I wish I could erase some of the struggles I've been through, but it's brought me to a place of understanding it, that when you have a call to do something, to follow it, because you don't know where it's going to lead. Like Steph, who knows how Steph and I think Nina, there's a handful of core people that sort of started that group, and I think it's been 3 or 4 years at least.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they had an idea of where this would go. Like we all have this, like, okay, we're going to do this, but like by allowing it to unfold this far, like look at how big. And you're, like you said, maybe there will be chapters that'll open up in other cities. Maybe there will be new programs being implemented into prisons and schools and rehab facilities that is implementing music into their rehabilitation. We're not rehabilitating people. We're just patching them up and sending them on their way.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love that.
I love it. And I think it speaks a lot to what we've lost having music in schools. I think that this was foundationally something that, as human beings, we needed, and it meant something to the way our society operated. And now that we have very, very little of that, we're really missing something as a culture and human race. And I think the more and more, like you said, that we bring that in, it's going to reform a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope
Yeah.
so. I would love to see that. I mean, we see it in it brings up the same problem that we started talking about in this conversation, which is what's prevalent in the news right now, which
Mm.
is that it's starting to happen. There's all these great little schools where they have gardening at recess, and they learn how
Yeah.
to create, like plant their own food, and they, are being really creative, but they're not accessible. These kinds of programs that are being tested out, healthy food in schools. Hey, guess what? If you don't feed your kids sugar and like crappy processed food all day, every day, their attention span gets better. You know, from your personal life, we all know, like if you've been running around and eating junk and not taking care of yourself, you feel not great. And then as soon as you turn it around, and I'm not talking about dieting versus like not dieting, I'm talking about like you just start eating more like a human being is meant to eat,
Right.
right? You just feel better, right? You feel lighter, you have more energy, you sleep better. There's a freaking ecosystem that is your body.
Yeah.
And we've been trying to power through it for so long and ignore that we are a system, that we are a machine, and that machine is like being driven by this awesome network of other machines, and that we're in a web, and like every choice from what you feed yourself or your child to how you react to the news and what you post on your social media, these things all are intertangled, right? So there's no undoing it. And we've been in this like it's just about me for so
Hmm.
long.
I know. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad we talked about that because it does. It shines a light on the fact that, despite the discomfort we're all feeling, there are still great things going on out there, and just to reassure people's hearts and minds, there's good work being done. We don't always see it every day in the news, but there's good work being done out there. So
Yeah.
makes me feel a little bit better.
The news is not your friend, y'all.
No.
The news is not your friend. The news is like asking, it's like asking for a bag of Funyuns in a depressive couch state for the next week because it's so sad. It's so sad. And it's real, but like it's not. The news this is not back in the Walter Cronkite days. There's no integrity. I don't know what's real. And it's all scary and it's all depressing. So it's like short of burying my head in the sand,
Hmm.
I want to be aware, right? I'm not trying to pretend nothing's wrong or nothing's happening, but I also, like we talked about it earlier, is just I'm so I'm becoming ruthless on what I let in because
Hmm.
the more also I find if you are someone that's on a little bit of a healing or spiritual journey, if you are someone who's exploring your past and patching it all up and putting it into something that makes sense, the more of that stuff that you clear away, the more blank canvas there is in the psyche. And so if you're doing all of this healing work and getting really clear on yourself and your vision and your goals and your voice, and then you're like immediately jumping onto the phone and you're consuming all of this mass media and not curating any of what you're seeing, then you're just basically painting your canvas back with this noise. And I think that's what you referred to earlier about going forward. What a shame would it be if we didn't have some kind of a shift coming out of this. I
Yeah.
have anxiety about the world opening again because of that. I really watching people party, watching people just pretend like nothing's ever happened. It's very disheartening to watch. It's like it's scary.
It
And
is.
we make our own choices. So
Yeah. Yeah. I, oh my gosh, totally agree. For just 1 second, I wanted to give a shout out to those that have joined us on
yeah, I
our
can't see anybody
discussion.
who's here.
Sandra was out
Hi,
there.
Sandra.
Yeah, Karen Bradley and Sport Thompson. Love Sport Thompson. He is one of the greatest sound technicians I've ever met in my life, and he's a wonderful human being. And we have Mark Fulton out there,
Hi, Mark.
my brother
Well,
from the Mighty
I
Untouchables.
know. So, what's the Mighty Untouchables thing? Can I ask you a little bit about that? Because that is a very busy band. It's a very in demand band. So, how have you guys handled all of your stuff going forward?
Well, I think we were moving at such a fast pace, which was great. I think we all kind of thrive in that hustle mode, but at the same time, we all have families. We've got newborns in the Mighty Untouchables family.
Oh, fun.
And I think that kind of a schedule can be really brutal on families. And so I think on the good side of things, everybody's laid pretty low, and they're spending a ton of time with their families. I know that's what I'm doing, aside from um, coaching and everything, we're meeting weekly and just talking about ideas and things that we'd like to create together. Thankfully, before all this hit, we had been in the studio recording. So all this time, we've had a lot of editing going on with video, and it's trickled. The final products have trickled to us amidst all this, so we've had that to look forward to and get excited about, and put out there. And we have something brand new that's coming out. We were going to put it out on June 1st, but we're going to hold off for just a minute, until we're ready, for the vibe
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that we want to put out there. But other than that, I think we're brainstorming a lot about how we're going to move forward and what the industry is going to look like. And it's like everybody else, there's lots and lots of question marks over
Yeah, I was
it.
gonna say it's a big question mark. That's what it feels like, right?
Oh my gosh,
I
it
mean,
really does.
yeah, this is definitely it's so crazy. This next weekend is supposed to be when Josh and I were supposed to get married back in Missouri. So we've moved our date to September, but like that's still like kind of I don't know what's going to happen by September. We can't really say. But yeah, one of the big components of our wedding was involving a lot of our musician friends. They had actually created a tour from San Diego all the way out to Missouri. And then I think they were going to loop back through Nashville and come back. So they were supposed to leave last weekend. And Josh and I were supposed to leave, in the next couple days to go get married. And so that's been a major disappointment for me. And I've definitely needed to go through mourning that. I'm not sure that I even have. I think this next weekend, when the actual date comes and goes, I imagine it's also happening on a full moon in Sagittarius. I'm Sagittarius. So there's going to be a lot of emotions happening probably. And I'm just going to prepare for that. And that's one of the lessons I think we can take away from this as a culture is that it's okay to be upset and okay to be not okay, and not to try and just brush everything aside, and to sit and take time with it and acknowledge what we're feeling, because really, and that's been my experience through the losses and things that I've endured, is that when you ignore them, they get bigger and they get older and they get more like sewn into the fabric of you, and then it's much harder to undo them. So like if we could stop pretending everything's fine all the time and sit down and be like, you know what, I'm having a bad day, I need space, or I need to take a bath, can you take the kids for an hour, or just I'm mad. How often do we admit we're mad? We're like, I'm fine. Like we do that face, right? It's like, oh, I'm fine. That, right? So it's like, if we could drop the I'm fine. And I think this moment in time is unfortunate. And I think people are not feeling fine today, yesterday, last week, the last 2 months, 2020, the 21st century, all of it. I don't know. We're not fine. And the only way we can become better is to like acknowledge. So this topic hasn't been a lot about singing, but I do think that singing is part of the puzzle for me, at least. It's very much part of the puzzle, connecting to the voice, and also just music, the healing that comes in music. And there will be some beautiful music that comes from this year. I think we're going to get a lot of beautiful art coming from this. And that's the unfortunate truth of life, is hard times spur incredible creativity, but people have to get past the mourning stage. We can't create from guilt, shame, fear, grief. Those anxiety, those levels of existence don't foster creativity. So that's always my advice to singers, and like the advice I give myself right now is like, stop and feel it. And like yesterday I said, I need to stop and feel my feelings. I can't be here right now. I can't support you if I can't support me. So if we could all adopt this put on your own oxygen mask first kind of ideology when we're caring for others, instead of just pouring ourselves out for other people all the time, and start to fill up our cup first. I mean, I just use a lot of cheesy metaphors back to back, but You get it, right?
Yes.
Like let's slow down, America. Let's feel this. Let's look at it. Let's square it up and say, this isn't right. What can we do? And it's going to be a long road. I don't these kinds of changes, they happen really abruptly and shockingly, like they have been, but then they take a lot of time to mend and clean up. So I think that's where we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know. And I really, um, I think in the midst of all this, answering my own question of what is the best thing that's come of this, um, I think that is for me. I am my whole life, I've been a worker, hustler, moving at a breakneck pace, as long and as far as, my body will take me. And this has forced me to stop and face things that have been neglected in my life. And I've had no other choice than to, sit with a lot of feelings that, I have avoided. And there are those truths of when you get into this business. It takes its toll on your family too. Your family misses a ton of time with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, facing my family and trying to, reconstruct, what our unit feels like together when we're with each other 24/7. It's a lot of work, but my God, I could not be more thankful for it,
Mm-hmm.
and so, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot to come of it.
Well, and I do think, like I kind of said earlier, I think worker bees are gonna be worker bees. Like haters gonna hate, high achievers gonna achieve. There's like you're not gonna change the nature of people by changing the circumstances. But I think what happened is that we started to see like the priorities, right? Like the family became into the forefront of the priority and say, okay, wow, I've been missing out on something because I've been running so much. I'm missing watching my daughters grow up. I'm missing connecting with my husband.
Hmm.
I'm missing tending to my home or cooking or whatever it is. And like, I think a lot of people are feeling that domestic energy a little bit by force because we're at home all the time.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, it was part-time jobs. Like I loved the jobs that I was doing. And I've always been somebody that even through my singing career, I've almost always had some kind of a part-time job because I like to work. I met
Hmm.
my very best friend in my life at my first job when I was 15 years old. We're still best friends. Like I've been working every day since I was 15 and I like to work. And in fact, I just did my human design chart and I am a generator, which means I am a worker. Like that's my nature. That's what I'm put here to do according to that. Like I will build things and structure things. And so I'm actually quite unhappy when I'm not working.
Hmm.
But this has given me such perspective on the kind of work to do, right? And where
Oh,
the
yeah.
importance of my work lies and how much I can get done in a day. You guys, if you haven't noticed, and not everybody's in a space of productivity right now, and that's okay. A lot of people are, like I said, still kind of going through the stages of grief and shock, and certainly that's been reignited over the last couple of days. So even if
Yeah.
you were kind of making your peace with the pandemic, this new shocking news has backpedaled us, back. But uh, the amount you can get done in a day when you have an intention and a focus and like you take away all that noise and the busyness, because busyness is an addiction. Busyness is a thing that our culture we grasp to. We cling to busyness. It's safe to be busy. We can't look at our problems, right? We
Yeah.
can't slow down and look at our problems. So busyness is a coping mechanism just as much as smoking cigarettes. It's like just it's a lot maybe healthier in some ways, but maybe not, right? People have chronic stress, heart disease, all kinds of things, right? Overweight, the things that are symptoms of a stressful, busy life. So for me, it's like I'm not really gonna stop working, but the clarity that's come around what kind of work to do and how to spend my time doing it has been a blessing. Like it's just been amazing because now I see something that I couldn't see before. So I think that's been a big theme is just uncovering things that we haven't been seeing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and speaking of the kind of work that you're doing and of family and getting married, you're getting
Yes,
married to
I think
John.
so someday, hopefully.
Yeah, and you and and Josh make music together. So tell us
We
about
do.
Rosa's Cantina and what's going on
Oh,
with
it's so
that
good.
and where we can see you.
Well, we miss our band, of course, but it's been cool actually to have this time where it's just Josh and I, and we've been dabbling in the live streams. We do a live stream every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific called Taco Tuesday because we are named after a Mexican restaurant and bar in El Paso, Texas, made famous by Marty Robbins in the song El Paso. So everybody always jokes and we get mixed up on Facebook. I didn't think this through very well when we named the band that like people think we're a restaurant all the time. So there is a restaurant, or there was, I think it closed, but there was a Rosa's Cantina in Temecula. So we would get calls on our like Facebook emails like, do you guys take kids and whatever. So yeah, so we ran with the theme. We're like, you know what? Let's not fight it. Let's embrace it. So we've been doing a Taco Tuesday thing, and then we actually eat tacos afterwards, which has been great. But yeah, not having access to the band or the gigs has given us a chance to. Josh and I have written some new music together. We've really reconnected on the musical level because we were bandmates for a couple of years before we ever dated. So it was like kind of a return to the roots and a return to how the band started, which was just him and I sitting on the couch playing and singing and making up songs. And so yeah, we've been kind of on a cool little schedule. It's like Tuesday night we live stream, we do a little break, and then like by Saturday we're rehearsing for Tuesday. So like Saturday, Sunday, Monday we'll kind of pick our set list, work on new songs, and then Tuesday we'll stream it, take a little break. So there's been a schedule that's been implemented there that we weren't really rehearsing that much before the pandemic because life was too busy and we lived together and we're always together. So I think the band had lost a little bit of its creative force behind it because it was like in a maintaining mode, which was fine. We were doing great. We had gigs. It was fun, but there wasn't really any forward momentum. So we've actually gotten to reconnect with the roots of our songwriting and doing all that. So we have a single release party on June 9th, which is a Tuesday night. So we've been raising money both months, by the way. Oh, this is cool too. So we've been sharing 50% of our tips from every show with the first 4 that we did. We just picked different places we wanted to support locally. And then this next 4 was kind of a little bit of an experiment. A woman I am connected with on Instagram had started a GoFundMe called SD Creatives Relief. And it was, you could apply for up to $1,000 in assistance with a bill or rent if you're a creative professional. But I was like, well, how cool is that? But I looked at the page and there was only like, I want to say like maybe $150 or something in the account. So it's like we can apply to up to $1,000, but there's not $1,000 there. So Josh and I have made it our goal to put $1,000 in that account over the course of the next 2 weeks. Now we've already done 2 shows. And right now we're not tracking to quite hit that, which is okay. We're like, well, if we don't make it, we'll extend it. Or, I know the woman whose page it is. So if we never get to that goal, maybe we can put that money somewhere else. But I really want for that to pay one person's rent. I want one musician friend of mine to go apply for that and get $1,000. And that's like our goal. So if you want to support us doing that, we're live streaming this Tuesday and next. And then next Tuesday, we're going to release a single and have Lauren Lee Martin and Nick Crook and Ginger Cowgirl on our show. So we'll live stream with a bunch of folks. We're giving away 3 pizza parties. My themes are all over. We got tacos, we got pizza, we've got, I don't know, it's a mess, but it's all good.
Yeah, I'm totally going to watch that. And tell me again, where can everybody find information on your coaching programs?
Oh yeah. So actually I'm kind of in a little bit of a transition between my websites. So my website is theboldvocal.com, but honestly, I'm going to tear it down and start over. So there's you can go there if you want. It's kind of cool, but mostly you would want to connect with me on Instagram or Facebook at The Bold Vocal, The Bold Vocal on Facebook. And then actually, let me see if I can put it in the chat right here. Okay. I'm also putting up a link right here in the chat, which you can post maybe to the comments.
Yeah.
Which is a link to Living Room Rockstar. So that's kind of where a lot of my energy and focus is going right now. And I have one-to-one people too. So if you're looking for private coaching, you could come find me and do that too. But right now I'd say this is kind of my my baby. It's where a lot of my attention's going, and it's really fun and very transformative. So I'm going to open enrollment for the next Living Room Rockstar as soon as we wrap this one. Actually, enrollment's open now, but we won't start, the next
Yeah.
boot camp until this one's over, which is June 13th. This one ends. So we'll probably put a week buffer and then start the week after that. But basically, this link that I provided you with is your coupon code. It says Danielle at the end. And anybody who uses this link to purchase that will get 20% off of the price.
Awesome.
So it's $297 for the month, but this is a 20% discount. And then the sales page is there too. So even if you're just curious and you want to like learn more, you can click that link and go explore, and no pressure to buy if it's not for you. I really only want people who this is right for them, that something speaks to you. Those are the people, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so great. I love talking to you. I love you. There is
I
so
love you
much
too.
that we didn't get to, so I hope that we'll jump on and do this again sometime really soon.
Anytime. I would love to actually
Yeah.
like nerd out on voice stuff with you, but I feel like
Yes.
today we needed to talk about the healing of the world. That was felt
Yeah.
relevant.
Yeah. We didn't talk about cooking either.
No, yeah, there's a lot of cooking stuff we can get into. I've definitely been cooking a lot during the pandemic.
Yes.
I've been
Josh
working
is a
out a lot
lucky
too.
man to be stuck with someone like you.
He's been pretty happy. He's like, every once in a while he'll be like, damn, like I got it good when I put dinner down, which so that makes me feel good.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks again for doing this. I'll put your links in the comments as well. But thanks for everybody that watched. We hope that this is helpful in some kind of way. We hope you'll share it out to anybody that you think might be needing some uplifting like this, especially people who are in the industry now or thinking about getting into it. We want to help in any way that we can, whatever form that looks like. So share it out, and I can't wait to talk to you again, Carissa.
Me too. Girl, keep up the good work. I love seeing you doing this, and I'm always your cheerleader. I want you to like just have massive smashing success. So that's my wish for you. And if you guys are in Camp Danielle, you are in good hands.
Oh,
So thank you for doing the work that we're all a part of. It's important stuff right now.
yeah, likewise. All right. We'll talk to you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.